going to win.
Mohamed Patel wins here.
Other than Rd.7. Oh, he's done it! Look at these two go! He's going to do it! His first victory! The World Championship is done. What a race it's been!
Hello everybody and welcome to the FSR Pro Championship here in 2022. It is round 7 and we have come to the north of Italy, just outside of Milan, to Monza. The Temple of Speed, some would call it. This is such a fast racetrack, of course, with a few chicanes in there as well to spice things up. We're going to see a lot of action down at those, and particularly down here towards turn number 1 and 2, particularly on lap number 1. It's going to be another very exciting race with this championship beginning to hot up here at this stage. Yuka Lalu currently leading it, but will he be able to hang on through the final parts of this title challenge? My name is Ewan. I'm alongside Richard King once again for this one. And Richard, this is setting up nicely. Monza, though, is such a difficult track for everybody. Everybody's going to be looking towards that lap 1 and that turn 1 that hopefully it will go well, but can go so wrong.
It indeed can go very wrong, and yeah, they'll be looking at those opening laps. But I was watching the academy race, and you can see straight away that strategy is going to be a big part of the overall outcome. So they'll be thinking about those opening laps, but at the same time, they'll be thinking, what are they going to do to get the best stint and the best strategy to put them farther ahead?
Absolutely, whether it's a one-stop or two-stop here today, who really knows? 43 laps, though, to decide who is going to be victorious after our qualifying session, which will consist of 3 laps for all of the drivers as normal. We're also back onto the normal schedule, by the way, in terms of Formula Sim racing. I know that last round was a rerun of the Silverstone race for the pro guys, and then we went to Matsusaka for the World Championship. We are back at Monza throughout the entirety of the day once again, as we were with Academy earlier on. We will be later on as well with the World Championship. Just about 8 minutes to go then in this qualifying session. We have already got drivers out onto the circuit. Matthew Williams is out there once again. He wasn't there for the Silverstone race a few weeks ago, but he is in real form here. 2 wins in his only 2 races this season.
Indeed, he's had a fantastic couple of races when he wasn't. He's the only driver to actually take more than 1 victory this year. So he's looking maybe take that top of the timing sheets in qualifying, heading himself up to a 3rd race possibly. But we shall see how he goes. Is he going to finish his first lap coming up to no longer called the Parabolica corner, but I don't think that's ever going to die down in anyone's memory. But coming out of the final turn, we'll come across the line to put in the first lap time of the session. So straight away to the top of the board, we'll see if that is able to be held up.
Oh, dearie me, that's not going to be beaten by Leonos, I'm afraid. He was very quick through the middle sector, as you just saw, but spinning around through the final corner, and he won't be improving on that lap time. Jukka-Pekka Laulu, though, at fastest in the first sector. It's taken a very long time for everybody to get round here, as Hanko goes into the 2nd position there. Still 3 tenths away, though, from Williams, who, by the way, is about 55 points adrift from Jukka-Pekka Laulu, who does lead the championship standings. He makes his way through Ascari right now and out towards the Parabolica. He's trying to overhaul Williams at the front. I think he might well slot into 2nd, though, as Mancini has just done in that car.
Indeed. The thing about Lianas, he has just come out of the car straight away from the Academy Series race as well, so he's got a lot of running under his belt from today. He did also have a spin in that race, which could have thrown away a potential victory, so maybe switch it up a little bit in this one. But a nice time going across the line for Lalo. Currently puts him provisionally in P7, but you can see straight away that the one team dominating the top 10, the top 7 there, just a few drivers in the mix, and loving this new overlay, being able to see all the teams on the left-hand side. It's helpful for you and me, but also it's something to get used to, because now I've got to remember what team logos look like.
Exactly, yeah. That is a bit of an issue, but it is Royal Blue, of course, who are so good at the moment. They're leading the team standing, but let's see what's going on in the driver's standing, shall we? Jukka-Pekka Laulu is leading them by 28 points now. He did extend his championship lead. Danny van der Neet got himself into 2nd with that 6th place finish on that occasion. Cosmo Pasuto, it wasn't 6th place, sorry, it was 4th. Cosmo Pasuto also jumped up with another podium in this one. Mirko Mancini, with no points scored on that occasion, dropped to 4th. This is still very much all up for grabs, though. I know Lalu is leading these standings, but week after week, continuously, he does tend to get closed in on by 1 or 2 drivers. He's just the most consistent by the looks of things. He's the only driver to have finished inside the top 10 in every race so far this season, and that is really what's got him this championship lead.
Indeed, we've got to look at that top 4, the fact that none of them have a race victory this season, but showing you that victories aren't all that matters here. Yes, you can take a win, but Victor Ivanov is your highest race winner so far this season, P5. Then it's Casvilleville, P6. Then it's Williams, of course, 2 race victories in his 2 races, but he's P7. The next going all the way down, you've got Grandfist P12, Mazidis P16. You know, you're going really far down to find your race winners. So you don't need to take the victory. You need to be racing here every single week. And as you say, finishing consistently. Lalu, top 10 every single race. 3 podium finishes this year. His 3rd season in the Pro Series, and this is the first time he's scored a podium. So he's looking for his first ever victory in 3 years. Can he take it today? I don't know, with Williams out on track.
No, Williams is so quick at the moment. You can see that gap now, over 3 tenths of a second. Even Leonos there couldn't even get within 3 tenths of him in that 2nd position right now. Leonos a little bit further down in those standings. You won't have seen him in the top 10 there. He's all the way down in 24 because he's only done 2 races this season, so we'll cut him some slack there. Viktor Ivanov, though, is out there again, as you mentioned, previous race winner from this season so far, and just driving the World Championship from time to time as well. He did so at Matsusaka last week on the back of his performance at Silverstone. He's coming up towards the line now, out of the Parabolicon, over towards the top 5 now, you'd imagine. It's second place. It's a lot better than the top 5. Only 2 tenths away as Cosmo Prosciutto also going fast in the middle sector there. Needs to really nail the final one, though, because that's where Matthew Williams slipped up ever so slightly. He will move up to second as well. Only 85 thousandths of a second behind the current pole sitter.
That is extremely close at the top there between the 2 teammates. Will there be an improvement later on in the session? I believe they've both got 1 more run each. And if Williams was feeling comfortable, I don't think he is after that. And returning to the track most likely for that final run. But a lot of drivers coming up to the end now. As we go to the end of the session, the track's at its best. They're going to be pushing their hardest. We've always seen that last lap, the lowest dying stages in a qualifying session is where the improvements are made. And just less than a tenth of a second between your top 2. But going back then, Ivanov 0.2 of a second down. It's a little bit of a gap there. Ivanov might not be able to get onto the front row, and it could be a lockout by the teammates here. But right now we're watching Chaspialantis down in P17. He's almost a second off the pace, but coming through a little bit of a wobble under braking. Getting the curbs a lot there. That would unsettle the car, but getting as much speed as possible. Green in the first sector.
He is green in the first sector indeed for Netrex Grand Prix. Ivanov is the best performing Netrex driver, but you have to go all the way down to 11th to find Danny Van Der Neet. It's a bit of a surprise to see the championship contender so far down, and if he wants to take points off Jukka-Pekka Laulu, he really needs a good final qualifying lap here.
Indeed, as he comes into one of the most technical corners around the world. He keeps it nice and clean, keeps the sparks flying. It is another green, obviously, in the second sector, but now it's all down to his braking point. How smooth he can keep this turn as he keeps it running through nice and smooth indeed, not pushing it out too far wide, which I'm surprised. Quite a lot of drivers like to run that wider line, but that's a really tight going through the final corner across the line. Only P13.
Yeah, 13th for Chatsy Pantelis, and that's going to be it for him. The end of this session is very near indeed, as we've got a number of improvements at the moment. And Rasmus Andreasen has bettered his own personal best in the middle sector. He's coming up towards the line right now. We'll see where he can get to as we also look at Smith here out onto the back straight. Andreasen does move up to 15th. Position in these standings, but Harry Smith makes his way up towards the Scari. Improvement on his personal best in the first sector, the same in the second. We'll see what will happen through the third as a lot of these drivers come over for their final lap times. It's really going to get very frantic in these final seconds.
It is. Everyone's going to be pushing as hard as they can, but it's not quite enough for Prosciutto or for Williams, both going slightly slower than their personal best in the opening sector. Mancini, however, in P6 is going green, so could be looking for an improvement down there and move himself into the top 5. But a purple for Prosciutto in the middle sector. A big wobble and a massive accident. I don't think he's going to be improving this lap.
No, he certainly is not. He was giving it absolutely everything there, going purple in the middle sector, but look at Matthew Williams responding right now with a purple in the middle sector of his own. Mikko Mancini is doing the best of those who are outside of the top 2 or 3, as they're going through the middle sector, through the into the pit lane at the moment. Matthew Williams comes out of the final corner. We'll see if he can maybe further his advantage. No, he will not. He comes into the pit lane knowing that he will not improve. Here is Thomas Vack making his way through Lesmo 2 and maybe towards the Sky now 2, an improvement ahead of Van Vukas. Although maybe ahead of Leonos as well, who's just got himself into that 5th place. Into that chicane he goes. It's another improvement on his personal best. It's unlikely to challenge Matthew Williams and Cosmo Prosciutto, but it could well be a second row start for Vac just behind. Here is Van Vukas just on that second row at the moment, outside line for the moment, but will he be able to move into that 3rd position right now? He goes towards the line, and it's going to be... Oh, it's still 4th, but only 0.003 of a second away. Thomas Vack comes towards the line, and he goes to 3rd. It's a much better lap time from him. He's only 1/10 away, and he moves up to the 2nd row of the grid.
A really good lap at the end there from WAC, but we're watching Cameron Roger. He got his first finish of the season last time out at Silverstone, our rerun of round 4. Where is he going to be able to put it on the grid? Currently in P18, slightly slower in the first sector, an improvement in the second, a little bit of a slide coming through the exit of the final corner here, but up towards the line, and he's definitely down on his time because that was a little bit of a wobble across the line. So P18 on the grid for Cameron Roger.
Absolutely, he was a 6th place last time out. Indeed, a remarkable performance from a driver we don't normally see get the checkered flag. But anyway, he's there now, and it goes back to the pit lane, as they all do after that qualifying session. It's Matthew Williams who's going to be on that pole position with a royal blue lockout on the front row. Cosmo Prosciutto just behind. Thomas Bach and Victor Ivanov will be next ahead of Kostas Van Vukas. It's going to be Giannis Leonis in 6th position. Mirko Mancini maybe a bit disappointed with 7th, but he does beat out Jukka-Pekka Laulu. Harry Smith and Casper Nizio round out your top 10. Well, qualifying is over for the pro race here at Monza. So we're going to go to a quick break. Let's see though, we're going to have a lap on board here with the one and only Mitchy Hoyer.
Hello everyone and welcome guys to the Formula SimRacing 2022 Monza Grand Prix. I am delighted to take you around the Parco di Monza here in the Festival of Speed. Once again in the Formula SimRacing 2022 series, going across the line, DRS wide open about now towards the best ultimate overtaking spot here in Monza. Extremely heavy on the brakes, into first gear even, going around the undercuts as good as you can. On the exit you can make use of the curve for maximum track width, and then long acceleration zone, and again a good overtaking spot into the second chicane. Once again heavy on the brakes, once again going around these anti-cuts, and then we're approaching the Lesmo 1, the third, the fourth gear right-hander, and Lesmo 2, the same thing once again, both times the exit pretty important, especially here as we're going into the second DRS zone, as you need to carry all the speed throughout the turns, and then to one of the most technical corners in the world, Ascari chicane. You sacrifice the first entry and line up through the second to have a blistering go through the third left king onto the back straight, once again into 7th gear, into the high speed corner. Was formerly called Parabolica, it's now called something else, I don't know. Anyway, most important, you carry all the speed early on the throttle. So across the line guys, that is one lap here around the Monza circuit.
Welcome back to Monza for the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship here in 2022. A big thanks to Mitchy Hoyer once again for taking us around this wonderful circuit, showing us around of course. And a big thank you as well to Free Durap, one of our sponsors alongside SimLab, and Mesita eSports here as well. Yeah, big thanks to all of those guys who are making Formula SimRacing happen once again here in 2022. We have a very exciting race in prospect here, Richard. 43 laps, strategy, intrigue, as well as a battle for the championship, which is really starting to hot up in this season's final moments, really.
Indeed, I mean, with Lalu slightly down the qualifying grid this time, it's a real good opportunity for drivers to now close that gap up to him. As you say, strategy is going to be interesting. One stop is definitely possible, but I think we're going to see a few drivers go up for that 2-stop strategy. As we saw in the Academy race earlier, depending on when you stop, where the traffic is, it could really hinder you. You've got to pick your moments right, and I think that's going to be crucial for a lot of our drivers here.
It really is. We're going to see the difference between the one stop and the two stop here once again. Hard tyres not expected to be used, but it's going to be a mixture of the softs and the mediums coming up here in today's race. And so that will be something to keep an eye on throughout the race as well. As you mentioned, Lally will be starting in 8th place. We'll see where everybody's starting here in a few moments' time when we run down the grid before this race. But Lally is in that 8th place, looking to try, as you said earlier, to try and take his first Formula Sim Racing victory of any kind. He has done races in the World Championship, in the Pro Championship, but he's never been able to win a race here. All of his 3 podiums in the Pro Championship came during this season, have come during this season. He hasn't had one now for a couple of rounds, as we go and look now at this starting grid for 43 laps of rating here at the Temple of Speed. It, of course, is going to be Matthew Williams on the front row alongside Cosmo Prosciutto. Royal Blue right together with Thomas Mack and Victor Ivanov trying their best to take that front row off of them. Then in the 5th position, Kostas Vamvukas getting inside that top 5 ahead of Giannis Linus. Then it's Mirko Mancini just ahead of one of his championship rivals, Jukka-Pekka Laulu, in that 8th position. Harry Smith will be just ahead of Kasper Nitsio. They round out the top 10. Then it's Stojan Barbakov and Stavros Mounzadis, the race winner from Silverstone last time out. Then it is Patrick Hanko and Danny Van Der Neet all the way down in 14th place for the man, 2nd place in this championship. George Chatsupadel is just behind him, ahead of Kevin Morville in the 16th position. Then is 17th Rasmus Andreasen is alongside his teammate Cameron Roger. Fabian Barley is 19th ahead of Matthew Tucson in the 20th place, and with one final driver as well in 21st position, a non-qualifier but hopefully a starter. Chris Gitsov will be on the back row of the grid on his own in this race. 43 laps ahead of us, then the formation lap is going to be underway here in a few moments' time, and we are going to see what people have decided to start this race on. It's quite a brisk formation lap from Matthew Williams here, who's really stringing them out, but it looks like he's elected to start on those soft tyres as everybody makes their way to the grid again and will compose themselves for whatever is about to happen down into that first chicane.
Indeed, I'm surprised to see a medium compound tyre so high up the grid there from Ivanov. That is a strategy that definitely could play out going longer on your first stint, but you're going to be overwhelmed by the soft tyres very early on into the that first stint. He could find himself falling back, and when he does eventually do that pit stop, getting himself into traffic that he doesn't want to be in. However, going longer, he is obviously going to get a lot of clean air when those soft tyres come to pit. So interesting call by Ivanov there. Can't wait to see how it plays out. But 3 races in a row for Williams, all 3 races, this season, he has taken the pole position spot. And he has converted the 2 previous ones into a win. Can he make it 3 for 3 here today?
He's got the best opportunity possible to make that happen. He just slows things up as we make our way through the pit boxes now and towards those starting positions. Look a bit further down to Danny Van Der Neet, who's got a lot of work to do in this race here today. 14th position for the man, only 2nd in this championship. So that is a lot of work for him to do, and he's going to really have to push hard throughout this one, starting on those medium tyres in this race. Lights will be coming on then here at Monza for the Formula Sim Racing Pro Championship in 2022. We return back to the Temple of Speed once again to go racing. And what on earth is going to happen down here into this first chicane? It's a royal blue front row as the lights come on now. Matthew Williams versus Cosmo Prosciutto off the line. Who's going to get a better launch? It is certainly Williams from the pole position. He's able to get alongside and in front, across the front of Cosmo Prosciutto into turn number 1. It's single file between the 2 royal blues as Vamvukas brakes super late on the brakes into the first chicane. It's all well behaved back in the pack here in the Pro Championship here as well. We saw good behaviour in the academy. We've seen it again, once again, here in the Pro Championship as well as we get underway racing. Single file for the most part up front as Hanko goes side by side with Kasper Nitsio. That's the furthest battle forward in this field. Nitsio around the outside of the first part of the chicane, inside for the second. It all gets a little bit messy as, that's a shoulder barge from Chatsupantelis straight into the side of Hanko, who is down the back of the field already.
That was an interesting move, but we'll we'll have a little look at that in a moment, I'm sure. We'll go back towards the front. Williams, a fantastic start, already broken a 1 second barrier to Prosciutto. Obviously, DRS at 0.7 to get the DRS ahead of you. And for this weekend, as a special of for the Templar Speed, lap 2 is when the DRS is enabled. So really good that Williams has been able to break that DRS gap straight away. Van Vukas in P3 is still just within that zone on Prosciutto though. So Prosciutto is not safe from behind. We're watching Wack as he comes out of the final corner. You can just see the trainer drivers, they've settled themselves down all the way until about, I would say, the 9th position, and then there's a little bit of a further gap. We look here at Lianos looking to the inside. Mancini, not quite enough room to get up the inside, but he certainly wasn't backing out early as he holds on to P7 for now, recovering from an unfortunate finish in the Academy Series of P2. Doesn't sound like a bad result, but when he was on for a win, it certainly is. He's getting chased over by the championship leader of Lalu here. He's looking to make his way up the order and try to recover as many points as he possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start for Mancini here to get in front of Leonis. That's a notable positional change. Ivanov dropping down from 3rd to 5th is also a notable change, but Van Vukas is up to 3rd instead of Vuk. So it's to be expected, to be fair, on those medium tyres for Ivanov, but even so, it's not a great start for him. Mancini just on the back of him and will look to try and make his way through shortly, you'd imagine, as the top 10 or so get away. Most of those outside the top 10 did go for mediums, apart from Barbakov, Gitsov and Barley, who want to make progress early on in this race. We go on board with Van Vukas, who already has been making progress in this one and will possibly try and make some more into turn 1.
Indeed, he's going to have the slipstream and, of course, the DRS as well. But he's pushing down, pushed past, enabled by Prosciutto to try and maintain the gap, just not able to close it enough going into the chicane. And with the all of the drivers in the line at the moment, it's going to be a bit of a DRS train for those further back. They've got to wait until the gaps slightly open up. But for Van Vukas, it is looking ahead at Prosciutto. What can he do with this race? Van Vukas obviously having a really good run since he stepped into the Pro Series. He has had a 2nd position finish at Spa, so a podium already. Can he make it a 2nd podium this season?
Very much has the opportunity to do so early on in this race. Still remains very close indeed, and Ivanov is holding on well here on these mediums. I know it's early on and there's gaps yet to form here, but he's holding on decently well, although now he's lost a DRS to Vuk up in front. He is going to struggle that little bit more. He'll need to use a bit of push to pass, as he just did there up into Ascari, although it will be a brave move from a championship contender to make a dive bomb there. Mancini just tucking into the slipstream, and he'll be waiting for turn 1 probably, where he'll look to make use of that DRS and pass Viktor Ivanov.
Indeed, he's going to follow on through as much as he can. He's got to look in his rearview mirror as well, though, because whilst he's attacking, he can also be attacked from behind. So he's got to pick his line that he's going to take on board with Lianos here. Looking at Mancini, move to the right-hand side of Ivanov. A nice move. Is this going to be Lianos trying to make the move through as well? Isn't going to be able to make it. Ivanov just slightly drifting to the right to fend off from Lianos there. And Ivanov down to P6, but holds on to that position ahead of Lianos now.
Thought about following the Italian through there, but didn't go for it, and now he might into the Della Roggia chicane. Oh, he's weaving around all over the place, but not going for it just there. Ivanov has got to sit tight here, really. It's easy to get disheartened by what's going on around him right now. However, he's got to just sit tight and remember, really, that his time in this race will be coming up later on.
Indeed, but at the same time, every position he loses, the further he gets away from that leading group, yes, he's going to be able to recover it later being on the faster tyre and the fresher tyre, but he's also losing that time straight away. He's falling back into the pack, and even though he might be able to pick up the speed later on, if he's stuck behind other drivers, he's not going to be able to demonstrate that very well. But he is still defending well from Lianos, who's all over his rear. But I feel like this is just going to be another easy move like last lap. Looking at Wack now, he's looking for the 3rd position in this race, looking for that podium spot for now, as where he started, of course. DRS open, looking for the move. Yeah,
Ivanov is getting some nice slipstream there to maybe help him hold on here. Leonos goes for it anyway, down the inside into the first chicane. The two run side by side. It's a big slide from Ivanov there, out of the corner, and a shoulder barge as well. The two of them get into contact, and they run side by side through the Curva Grande. But it does look like Leonos is going to be able to make that move and stay in front at the very least for the moment. Although he's, Lalu is just sitting in behind at the moment. So he will just continue on with where he is, just watching on from behind, and hopefully for his sake he'll be getting through on Ivanov rather shortly as well. You'd expect that to be the case because of these medium tyres that are just getting away from Ivanov ever so slightly through Lesmo 2 there. He was really out of shape, although does have a bit of DRS to defend from our championship leader. Into Ascari we go, and no move just yet. You'd expect that to come at turn 1.
Indeed, being very safe through Ascari, doesn't want to risk anything so early on in this race. So definitely a turn 1 move looking like it's going to be made from Lalu here. But he's just sitting back, just taking it easy from our championship leader. He knows when to take the risks and when to hold.
He certainly does. Out of Parabolica, excuse me. Slipstream and DRS, you can be sure. No DRS for Ivanov is there. He's just about hold on to the latter end of it, but it's not going to matter. The side-by-side between the two of them. Inside line for Lalu should give him the place. It's a huge lock-up on the way in, but he just about makes this work. And so he is up into 7th position. I believe we're just going to have to take a... Welcome back to the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship race here at Monza, where Matthew Williams is still leading this race, exactly where he was before. We're currently completing lap 7, about halfway round, and we've got Cosmo Pasuto giving chase to him. Thomas Bach is going under a lot of pressure at the moment from Van Vukas and Mancini and Leonis, who is in that 6th position. Jukka-Pekka Lalu just here in 7th, you can see as well. So a nice train going on for 3rd position as the front two get away.
Indeed, and Lalu just trying to recover from what was a low qualifying position for him. He has finished down in P8. That's been his worst position so far this season. He's done that twice, which was the opening round and at Spa, hoping not to repeat defeat this late on in the season, because every point is going to matter. Yes, he has a 28-point lead, but that's not going to be anything if Williams competes in the next 4 races and wins everyone back-to-back.
Yeah, it still doesn't mean that Lalu can't hold on by any means, but it does make his life a whole lot more difficult as Leonis tries to make his way down the inside into Parabolica, although sensibly waits for the main straight, and now he might try this move on Mirko Mancini, as we see one up in front from Van Vukas as well. 2 of the same team going straight through here. Van Vukas holding on to that 3rd place. Mancini can't hold on to this 5th place. It's Leonis down his inside. And contact between the two of them. Now round the outside through the Curva Grande, and he makes it work as Lalu approaches Mancini as well right now. Are we going to see some dives into the Della Roggia? Not quite into on this occasion. This is all getting very close indeed. From about 3rd place down to 10th, we're all in one long line.
I don't think I flinched so much before with that little bit of contact. Such a high-speed part of the course, obviously coming out of the chicane as they get onto the speed. But luckily, both of them keeping it the right way. Lianas into P5 at the moment, doing a really great job in this race, in fact, but behind Wack. Now, this is going to be really important, because if he can get past Wack, he's going to alleviate the pressure from Van Vukas, because Van Vukas has had Wack behind him now since the start of the race. So he's going to want to try and help out his teammate a little bit here, as well as get into P4 for himself and possibly even move forward onto the podium. But look how close Lianas is now. This is going to be a great opportunity for him to move past Wack. It's going to be DRS. It's going to be push to pass out of the Parabolica there you saw on the left-hand side. He moves to the right side of the circuit. They're side by side. Someone's coming out the pit lane, but he's not going to get in the way. In fact, Lianas moves straight back onto the racing line before they even get to the corner.
Yeah, it's Cam Roger who's coming out the pit lane. Not entirely sure how he's found himself 1 lap down already, but he is. And he's down in that 21st position right now. But Leonis gets through on Thomas Vack, and these 2 ground effect cars look like they're getting away from the rest of this little group here, because we're already seeing that with Van Vukas, who is in that 3rd place right now, trying to chase down the Royal Blue 1-2 that we're seeing at the moment. Thomas Vack falling back a little bit. So's Mirko Mancini, who's coming under a lot of pressure right now from Jukka-Pekka Lalu, and you can see the tyres evening out here just a little bit. Viktor Ivanov has stayed in 8th position on these mediums, and now he's pretty much keeping pace with the rest of the soft runners.
Indeed he is, and I think Cam Rogers fallen down a lap because he's had 2 pit stops in this race. He pitted after the end of the first lap, and he pit obviously just last lap as well. But on board with Ivanov, as you say, they're certainly starting to see the switch over now. The softs and the mediums coming to the point where they're performing in the same way. Now this is going to be really beneficial for Ivanov because now his tyres are going to start to work better than the softs in front of him. However, he's got to make his way past them all. Now he can do that, push past DRS slipstream as drivers ducking into pit lane. He doesn't even need to do all of that. He can move straight into P6, a little bit of clear air to the next drivers in front of him. Now he's going to see his strategy start to play out. So we can see how that's going to work. But that is two of the Royal Blue drivers coming in, and this early, looking like a 2-stop for the drivers.
It's actually earlier than I was expecting on a 2-stop, but it definitely is. Medium tyres. The problem is, look at the problem for them though. Mancini and Lalu come out 1 and 2 here, and not 1 and 2. They're 18th and 19th, but they've got traffic in front. Tucson and Gitsoff are not too far in front of these guys. They're going to be passing cars pretty much for the entirety of the rest of the race. Will they be able to get an undercut on those in front? Well, maybe, but let's wait and see on that one. Still another 8 laps to go for those on soft tyres if you want to do a 1-stop race here today. So it's a very early stop from those 2 back there, and I'm surprised, given they're in such a good situation. I'm surprised they are taking a bit of a gamble.
Actually, do you know what? I'm not surprised because they do have quite a lot of... Yes, they have a few drivers in front of them, but then the gap starts to open up and there are quite a few big pockets. But the fact that Mancini and Lalu pitted together, they aren't alone. They're going to have the DRS, they're going to have the slipstream, and they can work together to move their way forward. So I think that's a really smart plan by the Royal Blue drivers. But this is going to be Lianos going for the move on his teammate Van Vukas, looking for P3, and makes it nice and easy. It doesn't look like a fight there. They are just going nice and smoothly together. This is now Nizio on the inside of Smith. Smith is going to be able to hold it on the exit of the chicane. Nizio down here, holding on to P8, looking to move forward into P7.
Yeah, Harry Smith has done a decent job so far in this race to climb up towards Ivanov now. They're getting close as Nizio tries his best to go back down the inside again, but will not be able to do that into the Della Roggia, and they will stay 7th and 8th as they run right now. Matthew Williams using a bit of push to pass. I wonder if this is his in-lap here at the moment. Cosmo Pasuto just responds a little bit, but 4 seconds between the two of them. There is not much happening for those podium places at the moment. They're quite spaced out. It's really in the midfield where things are really happening, because the pit stop cycles are really shaking themselves out as we reach about 1/4 distance. Kasper Nizio very much correcting some oversteer through Ascari there, and Victor Ivanov probably was as well. He ended up in the gravel ever so slightly out of Ascari. These are the 2 ground effect cars. Van Vukas has recently been overtaken by Leonis, and now the 2 of them run at 3rd and 4th over the line again. How much longer are they going to go? How many stops are they going to make today?
I think they might be working together here, just pushing each other, try to catch up to those leading 2 drivers of Pashutto and Williams. Obviously, Pashutto only a couple of seconds down the road. I must say, it's a real shame to see Cameron Roger DNFing from another race this season. Hopefully, he'll be able to pull it back for the final 3. But looking at Smith, once again, it looks like Nizio has been able to make that move now into P7, so that's a good job for him. Smith is going to be looking to recover that, though, make the move back and through. Networks Grand Prix, all of them on medium tyres apart from Smith, so he's the only one on the softs.
He is, as we have a little replay of what happened to Cameron Roger. We're going to find out in all its glory. So down the straight here, down towards the first couple of corners. This has eventually resulted in 2 pit stops and a DNF, by the way. So let's see, down towards turn 1, couple of side-by-side battles further in front, and he just, pulls off. So I don't know quite what happened there. He just goes back to the pit lane. Not entirely sure. This is a
that's suspension damage. You
yes.
can see his car's already
well
leaning slightly to the, his wheel's slightly to the right. So I think he's had earlier damage there that he's very possibly just decided not to have enough. And around he goes. And that's the rear wing as well, which sent him into the pit lane. I mean, a good time to lose your rear wing, if any.
A good place to lose it, yeah, I suppose. And a good circuit to lose it at, I suppose, if you want the straight line speed. It's down the inside for Mercedes, the winner from the Silverstone race. In what a race it was. He gets in front of Gianni Van Der Neep there as those two. It's more of an exchanging of positions, really, more than anything else, because those two are going to be running longer into this race on those medium tyres. But he'll be very much high on confidence going into this race. I know he didn't qualify very well there, but what a job he did a couple of weeks ago to hold on to that race victory.
Indeed it was, and Mercedes, running P8. There's a bit of a gap to the drivers in front of him, but he is on the medium compound tyre, so he is running that different strategy, similar to the one that Ivanov's running. The question is, 1-stop or 2-stop? Is he going to be going earlier and getting onto a different strategy, or is he going to run that longer situation? I don't know which one's going to be more beneficial. We obviously only saw the 1-stops playing out in the Academy race because it was a shorter race. So I'm interested to see which one has the overall speed advantage, especially with the traffic that comes into play around the circuit.
Yeah, it will. As we see Williams and Leonos into the pit lane from first and third, respectively. Now, will this result in a 1-stop or a 2-stop, you ask? It's probably going to be 2 from this distance, but we're not too far away from those being able to make it out on only 1 stop. Out of the pit lane for Williams, he's only out in 9th position. What a stop that is. Goes out in 9th. Medium tyres, I paused for a second, and Rasmus Andreasen just behind, but he really hasn't lost very much at all making a pit stop there.
Indeed, Lianos coming out P14. He's ahead of Mancini and Lalu, who also have done a pit stop this race. But you can see the gap is only 2 seconds to them. So this is a really beneficial place for Lalu and Mancini to be in. Bearing in mind, Lalu was running down in P7 before he pitted. This could be a fight for a potential podium. After the stall, that was a big slide from Chassis Galantis there, ahead of Williams. He moves to the right-hand side, of course. Our net race leader, he doesn't want to get involved in someone else's error. He pushes straight through. I'm not having any of this. I'm getting past you the moment I can. And through he goes up to P8, trying to get himself clear of anyone else's issues.
Yes, Victor Ivanov goes a little bit quicker at this stage. These medium tyres starting to come into their own now. Into the pit lane for Van Vukas. Cosmo Prosciutto, by the way, has already been into the pit lane here as well in this race. As Ivanov is going to take the lead on these medium tyres. He's going to go quite a few laps longer. We'll see how much longer in terms of whether he's making this race a 1-stop or a 2-stop. But if it's 2, he's probably got another 10 laps just yet. He's pushing relatively hard at this stage in the race, though. He's ahead of Thomas Bach, Casper Nizio, Harry Smith and Mercedes, Stefanos Mercedes in the top 5. Then we've got Danny Van Der Neep, who's the final driver in front of Matthew Williams. Of those who has not made a stop, we're still waiting for Chatzipantelis, Andreasen, Morville, Barley, all of those guys to make a pit stop as well yet in this race. But Mancini and Lalu are not that far behind Leonis, although I have to say the undercut hasn't worked greatly. Van Vukas has lost out a bit there. He's dropped behind the both of them, but he's lost a lot of time to his teammate there, so I'm not entirely sure how that happened. Either way, Mancini and Lalu have gained a position with that early stop.
Indeed they have, and yeah, like you said, that's a 4-second gap that Van Vukas has lost in the moment that Lianos came to pit and he came to pit. So that's an interesting one indeed. Although I must say, I think I need someone with a stopwatch down in the pit lane trying to tell me how long it is per pit stop at the moment, because I'm trying to estimate where Ivanov is going to return onto the circuit. And it looks like right now it's going to be behind Van Vukas all the way down in what will be P16. So any one of these drivers up in the top 6 who haven't pitted, Williams, obviously the highest driver who's pitted, the only driver inside the top 10 who has currently pitted. The moment any of these other drivers come into the pits, they're going to be all the way down towards the back of the field. So they're trying to leave it as late as possible. But at the same time, as you said, the overcut not working, as it looks like a really good attempt at a move here from Chaspialantis. He's going to be side by side with Andreasen. Yeah,
good battling between the two. Very clean as well through the first sector there, through the first couple of corners, and now side by side around the Curva Grande. He's going to give Andreasen the inside for the next chicane, but it's late braking from Chatzipantelis there to make it round the outside. Oh, it's gone too far though. He's into the wall for Chatzipantelis for Netrex. He gets back onto the road, but he comes back on with less body parts than he went off on. So that is going to be, the end of a good run for Chatchipantelis. He will drop well down.
And I think he's decided that is race is done, and that is a real shame, because that was a good running there from Chatchipantelis, and just a shame that it ended in the way it did. We're on board with Mazidis here, right behind Williams. Of course, Williams already have done that pit stop, so not only is he on the medium tyres, same compound as Mazidis. Mazidis has been on these since the opening lap. Williams has only been on them for a few, but you can already see just how much speed advantage those fresh tyres has, as that is whack into the pit lane from the top three as well. Ivanov still leading your way on those mediums.
Oh my goodness me! Oh, that's outrageous from Mercedes. He nearly makes it work as well. Everybody was concertinaing up dramatically into the first chicane there. He broke at his normal point. He went down the inside of Matthew Williams, who saw him coming, and he nearly made the best overtake I think I've ever seen. But he didn't quite make it work in the end. It would have been a miracle, really, but it didn't quite happen for him, and so he stays in 5th position. But that will have given Williams a bit of a wake-up call there.
Indeed, I think a change of underwear will be needed when he comes down into the pits at the end of the race. But, I mean, he held on to it really well as well. There was no contact made. There was, I don't even think, a threat of contact with how well he held it, as well as Smith in front of him. Smith looking up the inside, and Itzio can't do anything. Williams now has to just debate, when is he going to make the move through? Is he going to push it hard, or is he going to just back off a little bit? He's not backing off. He's going for it as he goes up towards Parabolica, moves to the right-hand side. No push pass being used for both of them. He backs out ever so slightly, but he's not going to let that deter him. To the inside of Parabolica, that's going to be a move for P3, squeezes Smith on the outside, and now he's in the slipstream. He's going to have the DRS on Nizio, and that, I think, is going to be the quickest succession of overtakes. That's a little bit of a tyre bang onto the side pod of Nizio, but he does move through into P2, as it's going to be 3 wide in the back down as they go into the first chicane.
Oh, and Matthew Williams just make his way through on 1. But not any of the others. Not Matthew Williams. Harry Smith there makes his way through, and the lot of them do just go through cleanly in the end. Thankfully, here comes Mercedes down the inside of Harry Smith, inside line into the second chicane there, but not able to make that happen. Now, while all this was going on, there was also a big battle going on down a little bit further down the field, and I can tell you that Jukka-Pekka Laulu, our championship leader, has been off the road at some point around the circuit, and he's dropped a load of seconds. He's dropped a load of positions as well here in this race. So not entirely sure how that happened or where, but we might be about to find out pretty soon. Here is Lalu. So there's a couple of drivers battling up in front here. I think one of them might be Mirko Mancini. Yes. Oh no. There's a battle between those two. There's what happened.
No.
I think that's Fabian Palio who halted him ever so slightly, and then there's all these positions lost for Lally. He loses out loads.
That is a real shame, and that's the problem with pitting early, doing the undercut. Is we saw it with Williams. Williams was almost collected on someone else's error, and unfortunately for our championship leader, he was collected in someone else's error, and it's always the risk putting yourself back in the middle of the field when really you're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be inside the top 10. Fortunately for Lalu, it's points all the way to the top 20, which means everyone who finishes this race now is going to get points. But nothing compared to what he needs to get to maintain that championship lead. He's got a bit of a buffer. He's going to be looking into the final 3 races thinking, I can use this buffer I've got, but this is definitely a race to forget, and currently on target to be his worst race of the season. But looking up towards the fight between Van der Neet and Smith, 2 drivers who are yet to pit. Smith still on the soft compounder tyres. He and Barley are the only 2 drivers to still be on the soft since the start.
Oh, they are indeed, excuse me, as Danny Van der Neet makes a big mistake out of Ascari, but somehow manages to hang on to it there. That could have been a lot worse as Mercedes closes in because of that now. We'll get a bit of slipstream himself. But yeah, I'm alright in thinking, by the way, Harry Smith has been on those softs since the very start of this race. He's done 20 laps on a set of soft tyres. That's somewhat remarkable. He'll be the only driver from the soft... Well, I'll say that. I'll hold off on saying that because I'm not entirely sure. However, these guys who are out on the mediums at the moment will certainly be making this race a one-stop, at least those who haven't stopped yet, as Van Vukas makes his way down the inside of Rasmus Andreasen. Vak, by the way, has dropped down a little bit. He was running third or fourth a little bit earlier on this race, now dropped to 10th position. He's behind Van Vukas, Mancini, Leonis, all of these guys. So he might have been off somewhere as well. He's side-by-side battling between Leonis and Prosciutto, but not quite able to get through there. The Royal Blue driver hangs on to his 5th place.
Indeed, Smith then coming out onto his new medium compounder tyres down in P16, but he is a lot fresher now, and with going 20 laps on the softs, this is going to go one stop for him, and I think one of the few drivers who started on the softs, yeah, definitely one of the only 2 drivers, himself and Fabian Barley, who are going to go for this one-stop strategy starting on the softs. The others just pitted too soon for it to be a one-stop. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the longer run. But look at this collection of drivers. Lianos looks to the inside of Prosciutto. Can't do anything about that. But just in front, it's Vandeny looking to make away past Mercedes. And Vandeny is going to want every point he can get, of course, being P2 in the championship. But he looks like he's not going to be able to do anything about it now, because he's got 2 drivers going side by side right behind him and could possibly get him into the chicane.
Oh, let's see. Outside line for Prosciutto. So late on the brakes. He'll get the inside for the second part, and Van der Neet doesn't give him room to do that. And Leonis doesn't get any room on the exit of turn 2 either. Everybody getting agitated with everybody else through that first chicane there. As the first half of this race draws to a close now, its tempers are starting to fray just a little bit up towards this battle for 3rd position. Up towards the very front, though, Victor Ivanov is going to be going head-to-head here with Matthew Williams. I don't think for the win in this race, but Ivanov is certainly on course to maybe grab a podium in this one. He will be doing a one-stop here today. He needs to do about 4 more laps, maybe more, on those medium tyres. And then we'll see him in the pit lane on those softs until the end. He will be able to attack the final point in this race, whereas some of the others will not. However, then again, those who are doing the 2-stop are indeed going to be ending on the softs as well. So it's going to be an all-out fight between those, although Matthew Williams is not going to experience an all-out fight here, you wouldn't imagine. This is going to be a fairly easy move for the lead.
Indeed, he's going to move to the right-hand side of the pit straight, and it is going to be just DRS open. The drag reduction system just helping him move along is going to be on the inside. Fresher medium tyres. Then Ivanov, of course, who's been on those mediums since the start, and moves into the race lead. But here we go once again, back to this 4-car battle, and it looks like they're a little bit safer into the chicane, but no, there is still fighting going on with Lianos on the outside of Mercedes. It gets that move done, and now Van der Neet who's been thrown all the way to the back of this, is going to be trying to make a move back past Mercedes as he gets shoved down to P6 within just 1 lap.
Yeah, he's still taking points off Lalo as things stand, but is that going to be the same by the end of this race? There's still a good 10 seconds between them, so we might not see them fight for a good while, but Lalo is certainly going to be losing some points today, especially to Matthew Williams, who's going to be very pleased with how this race is going right now. Mercedes and Van der Neet, though, as you're probably aware at home by this point, are on the one-stop strategy. A few laps to go until they can finally come in for those soft tyres. Van Vukas, Mancini, Vak behind will all be closing in on these two, but I think by the pit stop cycle they're pretty much going to be absolutely together, and then we'll see where everybody comes out. But of course, these one-stop drivers will be putting those soft tyres on earlier, and so we'll get a bit of an undercut.
Well, if we look at it in the way that all the drivers who have pitted so far are still going to pit, apart from Harry Smith, who's going for the one-stop. So everyone is on the same sort of, this is where they're going to be at the end if positions don't change. Obviously, that's not the case in racing, but we've now got to think that they've all got one stop left, so they're all going to be going down the pit lane and losing just amount of time, as Van der Neet almost throws his car off the circuit there. But they are coming to the point where they're going to want to put those soft tyres on, the drivers that have been on the mediums. But this also means that the drivers currently on the mediums, who are on their second stint at the moment, are they going to be going for softs for their last one as well? And therefore, there not be as much benefit to the drivers who are doing the one stop.
No, it's going to be a bit of a conundrum for everybody to work out. Prosciutto and Leonis, though, are just trying to get towards Victor Ivanov, who I think has played a blinder here and will really be looking at a podium here in this race. Let's see if he can pull that one off, of course. He is currently 5th place in this championship, 46 points adrift from Luca-Pekka Laulu. But given that he's not started 2 of the races, not finished one of them, he's done a very good job so far this season, and he's repeating that once again here in this race. Are we going to see these two fight? Prosciutto versus Leonis. Are we going to get that into turn number 1? Here, it's a decent run for the ground effect car, looking to try and put an end to this royal blue dominance at the front of the field, which we've seen through much of the day. The DRS is going to be enough, surely, for Leonis to get through. I don't think Prosciutto is going to be too disappointed, though, because he can just draft off the back of that ground effect car and hopefully make his way back through at the next lap. But we'll wait and see how that battle pans out, as Mercedes and Van der Neat are caught now by Van Vukas.
Indeed, Liana's looking for a really good day already, with one trophy in his hands from a podium in the Academy Series. Can he get his hands on a second? He's certainly looking for it down, up in P3, I should say, as Prosciutto looking to stop him from doing that, and running very close indeed through that first chicane. I think there was a little bit of a nudge between the between the front wing of Prosciutto and the rear tyre on Lianos, but they are not going easy. And we're only just over halfway through this race, and it feels like there's been so much action. I can't wait to see what the second half gives us, with the strategy coming into play, as well as the just on-track fights. As you can see, Van der Neat holding on to ahead of Mercedes, and he's not going to be able to hold on to it much longer, as he's got 2 drivers all over his rear. This could get interesting.
Van Vukas didn't really want to make that 3 wide, although he's definitely got the pace to head down the inside of Van der Neat here. He won't do it. He'll just make sure of the move on Mercedes, and that is already done. You can see the new tyres, the way he's able to take a tighter line there and still get the better traction on the exit compared to those two. He's now in the slipstream. Van der Neat is using push to pass to try and defend here. Van Vukas outside line is going to make it very tricky for him. Van der Neat's very aggressive on the defence here. Too aggressive. He locks up the brakes. Van Vukas is going to have to go off. Van der Neat goes off as well. That was Van der Neat definitely being too ambitious into the first corner. He locked right up. He barely made the corner and just skipped across the curbs instead.
Indeed, and he's sort of given himself a little bit of a buffer there, so I'm sure that's going to be looked at after the race. But immediately you can see the tyres just not working for him at this point in the race. He's got to get in, he's got to get onto the soft set of tyres, because at this point he's defending onto P5, but that's going to be nothing when he comes down the pit lane, because he's going to lose all of this time. And you can see how much the 2 drivers behind him have already closed up, and it's going to be extremely close. I've got my eyes just slightly open trying to see what's going to happen here, and that's going to be squeezing up the inside of Van Vukas, but he shoves Van der Neat slightly off the racing line, and that means that it's going to move through Mercedes up to P5, Van Vukas P6, and it is not over for Van der Neat, who's got Mancini and Whack right behind him going into Parabolica. Mancini on the outside. It looks like that's going to be a nice easy move, and it looks like it's going to be a pit stop for Van der Neat as he comes out of the final turn. He ducks in.
Yeah, and very nearly doesn't make the pit line there, but he does do, and puts on those soft compound tyres. He was really starting to fall apart towards the end there, just struggling on those older medium tyres, as Thomas Vac does make his way through and tries to overtake Mikko Mancini, but not able to do that just yet. Van Vukas tries to make the move on Mercedes here, and this is going to be a nice move for him down the inside into the final corner. It's not all over just yet. Here he goes. He'll hold the inside line, and he will hold that position as well out of the corner and out onto the 2 Lesmos. He will make his way into 5th position. Will it turn to 4th later? Well, that all matters whether he's going to catch Victor Ivanov or not, I think. As Mercedes is not over just, or is not out of the water just yet. He'll be trying to defend from Mirko Mancini and Thomas Vac over the next few moments. And Luca-Pekka Laulu is not too far away either, recovering from that spin earlier.
Indeed, and I must say, with Van der Neat coming out of the pit lane as well, he's got almost 11 seconds to the next driver, Morville. Now, that's a nice empty space to be able to use your soft tyres to their fullest, but we're watching this fight here for P6 as Mancini moves to the left-hand side and moves around the outside of Mercedes. Nice and easy indeed for him, and now it's going to be up to Whack as he can make a move through. He doesn't need to. Mercedes moves into the pit lane and will also make his one and only scheduled stop.
It looks like it. Where's he going to come out though? That's just as crucial as anything else really. He's going to be in traffic, I think. Nizio just gets through. What about Rasmus Andreasen? Going to be a battle between the two. I think Ivanov is going to just about make his way through, and the traffic is not that bad. We're definitely in the window, though, that anyone pitting now will make it to the end of the race on soft tyres, and will be able to do so. So when are these drivers actually going to come in for these final stops? It really is a bit of a waiting game over the next 5 laps or so. But expect to see quite a lot of these drivers in, including Rasmus Andreasen. You can see here, wasn't able to really challenge Victor Ivanov there. Not that he would have done anyway. Here is Ivanov, just behind Kasper Nizio, who's just in front. Then we've got Jukka-Pekka Laulu, Thomas Vac, Mika Mancini, and Konstas van Bucas as well. Just up the road to try and stop him, but it looks like most of those are going to come in before he can get there. Out towards the final corner, the Parabolica. Ivanov will be hoping that some of these cars in front actually come in the pit lane.
He will be hoping to try and have as much free air and clean air in front of him as he possibly can. It looks like there are a couple diving in front of him. So a little bit clearing up, as that is Lalu coming into the pit lane. So championship leader coming for his second stop. Andreasen joins him as well. But Lalu then back outside the top 10, going for his final stint. It will be soft tyres with less than 20 laps to go in this race. So he's going to be pushing on towards the end. We're on board with Ivanov, looking to make a move past Nizio, who's on the worn mediums, of course. Ivanov moves to the left-hand side. This should be a nice, easy move under braking, and he gets up into P7. So even though not everyone in front of him ducks into pit lane, he isn't making it too difficult for himself, and he's just moving through nice and cleanly through the pack, so he's not losing too much time.
Danny Vandenete has got through and in front of Jukka-Pekka Laulu here as well, so that's one to watch throughout the remainder of this race. They're both behind Harry Smith, by the way, so they'll have to try and overtake him on the medium tyres, although they're both over 10 seconds adrift at this stage. It's going to be difficult for them as Matthew Williams comes into the pit lane just at the end of lap 28 even. 15 laps to go now, and the soft tyres will go to the end from here, so Matthew Williams is going to put them on now, and he is going to run with those till the end. His Royal Blue teammate Cosmo Prosciutto also makes the trip down pit lane. We'll be making that tyre change. There he goes. Prosciutto currently projected to, if the race ends how it is, going to be going into second place here in this championship, back to second place in this championship, ahead of Vandenete, and closing the gap on Jukka-Pekka Laulu more importantly as well.
Indeed, I was going to mention that he's sort of been quietly doing his job whilst there's been difficulties for Vandenete. There's been major difficulties for Lalu. He's just quietly been sitting up near the front where he needs to be. Obviously, P8 at the moment, that's just because he's made his second stop literally last time by. So he is now on his final set of softs, and only one driver in front of him. Matthew Williams has done a second stop, moving down into P2 right now. But, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a nice result for Prosciutto, exactly what he needs to recover. Well, I say recover, to move forward in the championship with dwindling chances remaining, especially with the vote obviously coming up next week. We could be going to Daytona. Not next week, a few weeks' time. Could be going to Daytona, could be going to Monaco. Now, Daytona, I think we're going to see fantastic racing there, but if it's Monaco, it's all about the qualifying. And as we've seen, it's been a really good run for Prosciutto in qualifying lately, so depends on what the vote's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know what that circuit beginning with M is, but anyway, I don't know what you said there. That's not a place. Anyway, Victor Ivanov, third place at the moment, and deep under brakes there ahead for just behind Thomas Vac. I don't believe Thomas Vac has been in, has he? He hasn't been in on put mediums on, has he? So we're still waiting for a pit stop from him, but I'm slightly questioning why he would stay out so late on those mediums when you can clearly make it to the end on softs, and he's clearly struggling on those old tyres.
He is. He's really struggling to maintain his speed on those tyres at the moment. So it's strange that he's pushing it so hard. Now, this is going to be whether he doesn't feel like he can push hard enough on the softs, or he feels like if he goes a bit longer on these mediums. Is he going to feel more benefit from the softs at the end? Well, everyone else has been on those tyres for maybe 5 or 6 laps, more than him. But right now, I don't think it's going to pay off, because look at this. Ivanov to the left-hand side, moves straight into P2. Really working those soft tyres well. It's 9 seconds to Williams. Obviously, I think that gap's not going to really close unless Williams makes some sort of error. So Ivanov is just going to be able to try to pull away from Wack. You can see, try to break the slipstream straight away and move forward here and just open the gap behind him and take a nice, comfortable P2. Ivanov, of course, he has won so far this season. He's finished on the podium twice. His worst result, a P4, when he has finished. So he is a really strong driver. He's just not been able to attend every race, and that's why he's 5th in the championship. I think he could be a lot higher up if he was able to attend each of the races.
There's some suspension damage here on Harry Smith's car. I'm sure of it. That definitely looks left-hand down to me. We're going to, Felix thinks so as well. So we're going to, hopefully see. Well, it's a corner here, isn't it? So it's hard to tell. But that definitely looks like left-hand down. So Harry Smith is going to struggle to hang on to these positions late on in this race. The likes of Mudzadis, Van Vukas, Van der Neet, Mancini, Lalu, I have a feeling all of them might well catch him up by the end of this race. Danny Van der Neet was 10 seconds behind Smith when he came out the pit lane not so long ago. The gap is already down to 6 or 7 seconds. Harry Smith is going to have a lot of defending to do in the final points of this race, and he's going to have to do it with a damaged car.
Indeed, that's a real shame for him, with the strategy that seems to be playing out quite nicely, actually, with that one stop for the softs onto the mediums. There are a few drivers in front of him who are yet to make their second strategy, their second stop in their strategy, but he's moving up the order, which is nice for him, but I don't think he's as high as I was expecting him to be with this alternate strategy, showing that maybe the one stop was not the way to go. Now, you could argue that with Ivanov's run, of course, the mediums onto the softs has been really strong. So it looks like it can be beneficial if it's played right. And Ivanov came out at a perfect opportunity. I think the Smith, just the way that he was further back in the field, was just held up a little bit more by the traffic, and it has benefited him. I'm not saying it hasn't, but I think the traffic has slowed him down just a bit more than it did with Ivanov, and that's the difficulty again with being back in the pack here at Monza. It's not an easy move through the field. It can be often a DRS train. We haven't seen that too often tonight, though, which is a real surprise, and actually I think really good to see that there have been constant battles and constant moves.
Yes. It has been a good race so far. Why on earth is Thomas Vack still out there? Surely he's not going to the end on those mediums, but he might well be. I can't remember when he pitted, which is not ideal. So he might well be going to the end on this stint of tyres, this set of tyres, I should say. And Casper Nizio might be doing the same as well. But Leonis and Pasuto are relatively close at this stage in terms of trying to get through. Both of them pitted on lap 16, or Thomas Vack did. So is that late enough to make a medium tyre stint work? It might well be. It's very much on the cusp of making it there, so we'll see. As things run right now, by the way, Lalu would only lose 6 points to Cosmo Prosciutto, and his championship lead would only go down to 26 points from 28 at the start of the day. So things are looking decent for Lalu, and he's got Amico Mancini just in front of him right now. Danny Van Neet is not too far in front either. He would also tie with Prosciutto at the end of this one. It will be Viktor Ivanov making up loads and loads of points in this one, getting right up into 4th position in the championship. It would all get very clustered up towards the 2nd position in the standings, but Lalu is going to hold on to this championship lead, you would imagine, if things stay as they are, as Van Vukas and Mudzadis half working together, half battling each other as they begin to chase Harry Smith once again.
Indeed, and just quickly as well, actually no, let's focus on this battle quickly. Van Vukas moving to the left-hand side of Mazidis as he's going to make that move nice and easily indeed. It looked like both of them, they wanted to have the fight, but at the same time they know where to pick a fight, and it was not into that corner. So Llanos moves up into P4 as well, past Nizio, make that move. Nizio slightly off the circuit on the exit of the Parabolica. Is it going to be enough to have DRS as well? Yes, it is. Rear wing open. Could it be a fight back for Nizio here as they head up into the chicane? He moves to the left-hand side. Lianis gets defensive, but he breaks a bit earlier and isn't going to be able to make that move. Liana's holding on to P4 and Prosciutto looking to get involved. But I was doing quick maths in my head, and I'm not very good at maths. So I was working out that it means WAC needs to do 27 laps on the mediums, which works absolutely fine. I think you can do that. The question in my head is, does that mean WAC's only done 17 laps or 17, 18 laps on the mediums and already has been struggling since about lap 13, which seems to be really early to struggle on the harder compound tyre?
I don't think he's been struggling per se. It's just the fact that everybody else is on newer softs, really. And that's just the way it is. Don't think he's falling apart just for the moment. We might see that a little bit later on as the tyres really begin to wear, as Cosmo Prosciutto makes up a place, goes up into 5th now and closes that championship margin to Lalu by 1 more point as well. That'll be 25 points at the end of the day if things were to stay as they are. However, Lalu is on the brink of possibly overtaking a couple of cars himself, so it's very hard to calculate at this early stage. Of course, we've got Thomas Bach just up in front here as well for Cosmo Prosciutto to maybe get. Victor Ivanov is going to be maybe struggling just a little bit on those soft compound tyres towards the end, but it certainly looks like the Netrex driver is on course for a solid second place here. I'd be surprised if he's caught, really.
I would say so as well. 4-second gap is quite a nice gap as Mazidis looks to the right-hand side of the circuit there on Smith, and he overdoes it, and that is a really harsh way to run across that circuit. Because of the sausage curve, really unsettles your car. You can't get it even turned in to be safe as whack on the outside of Lianas there. Lianas tries to hold on to his P3, he's able to do it, but no matter where you look, there's just events happening all around the circuit. I think it's going to be for the next 8 laps as well. Whack on P4. He's still got Prosciutto just behind. He's still got Lianas just ahead. His battle for the podium is still on.
It certainly is. This is how Lianas got into that in that 3rd position now, into a podium position that he might well hold on to for the remainder. Vac just held it to the right-hand side there. Shortest run through the Curva Grande, of course, but didn't bother defending, really. There was no point. Now, and he's very nearly clustered into him on the right-hand side there. Made sure... he was trying to get the racing line, but he wasn't quite clear just yet. Made sure of it through the corner. And he is into 3rd position as Cosmo Prosciutto looks to follow suit now. Out of the final corner he goes. Over the line. And this should be a slam dunk manoeuvre for the American. Outside line. Doesn't even bother going for the inside because he knows that he doesn't need it. He'll use the DRS and the push to pass to make his way through with 8 laps to go. That's another 2 points. Another 2 points closer to Jukka-Pekka Lalu.
Indeed, Lalu's still down in P12 as well. He's really not moving up this order as you'd expect him to be. It's going to be the question of now that we get into the end of this season, how much do teams help each other? Now, of course, you've got to think Lalu, Prosciutto, they are teammates battling it out for the championship. So Mancini, at this point, what does he do? Does he allow Lalu through, allow him to gain the extra point, and therefore say to Prosciutto, yeah, well, I'd rather Lalu wins this championship? Or does he just maintain position and say, actually, I'm still here to fight. I'm still here to go for it. So we get into that point now where drivers are written out the championship. Drivers are getting to the point where they cannot compete for this championship lead and for this championship victory. But when it's the inter-team battles, especially with a team that has 6 drivers on the circuit, it can be a very interesting dynamic for all of those involved.
Yeah, I mean, we can count out some at this stage, but I don't think we can count out Mirko Mancini just yet. He's 4th place coming into today, only 36 points adrift. He does ideally need a bit of a better result, especially on the back of his Silverstone race, which was a little bit below where you'd expect from him. But this is not over just yet. Highsmith is certainly struggling out there at the moment. Danny van der Neet has been able to get through on him, but he has been caught by the 2 Royal Blues. And now are we about to see a move from Mancini into turn 1? It's going to be difficult to see him diving down the inside here. Is it all concertinas together? Deary me. Here comes Lalu though. It's a nicer run, a nicer exit quite possibly onto the next straight, the Curva Grande if you like. Is there going to be a move for that 11th position just into the Della Roggia maybe? He thanks to the right hand side, make sure He's over on that right-hand side, doesn't bother going for the dive. I think he's waiting for the Italian to make his move on Harry Smith, and then he can follow suit, and then maybe the two will fight. But for now, they're not, as Danny Van Der Neek goes off the road at Lesmo 1, back onto the road, and he's off again. Oh dear! Off the road again for Danny Van Der Neek. He spins out of control. Everybody gains a position.
That is great news for Lalu, who not only moves into 11th position, but also Van Der Neek now down to P12. So his closest championship rival down behind him. Let's watch a replay of what happened here into the first Lesmo there. Just a bit of a snap of oversteer. Came back onto the circuit. A bit too much speed with the amount of grass. Very lucky not to go into the barrier on the outside, got back onto the circuit and was recovered into P12. But yeah, really good news there for Lalu. Now, of course, Lalu, the only driver to have finished inside the top 10 in every race so far this season. As Mancini moves into P9, can Lalu follow suit of his teammate and get into the top 10 with just 5 laps to go?
Here he is, going through the Curva Grande. He's extended his championship lead once again to 24 points on the road as things stand at the moment. Down into the Della Roggia chicane. Trying to clip those curbs nicely, although Harry Smith has a better run through there. Knocking on the door of a top 10 here is Lalu, and you wouldn't have expected this at the start of the day. Championship leader who hasn't finished outside of the top 10 all season long has got to work very hard to keep that record going.
He really does. It's not going to be easy for him, but he's got the DRS. So does Smith ahead of him. Smith also used a bit of push to pass coming out of the second Lesmo as well, just to keep himself just slightly ahead of Lalu. Lalu's going to be focusing though. He's got Smith in his crosshairs. He's got the slipstream and could have an opportunity before Parabolica even appears here, but he's sitting behind, not moving for any position overtake yet, but he's going to stay behind. It's going to be DRS. It's going to be slipstream. He could go for this move into P10. I don't think it's going to be easy, though. Smith's still got the slipstream ahead. Will he get DRS as well from Mancini? No, he doesn't. So Lalu can just slip onto the right and slip on through into P10. What's going to be under the braking?
Very late braking indeed from Lalu, but it pulls it up in time, and Harry Smith will be outside the top 10 and will probably be in 11th by the end of this race as well. So Lalu extends his championship lead once again to 25 points over Cosmo Prosciutto. Mancini will only be gaining 1 point. He'll be 35 points back. Victor Ivanov at this stage is going to gain a good 14 points today, but he'll still be 32 points back at this stage, moving up to 4th in this standings, maybe even 3rd, with the demise of Danny Van Der Neek, I'm afraid, down in 13th position as things stand. But 4 laps to go, and coming across the line already, Matthew Williams is miles out in front of the rest of the field. Once again, in his 3rd race this season in the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship, he has dominated.
He has 3 races he's taken part in. He's got pole at all 3 of those. He has got a fastest lap at one of them. He's got fastest lap here today, and it looks like he's going to take a 3rd victory. Again, the only driver to take more than 1 victory so far this season, and he's done it in every single race he has competed in. Van Vukas, so looking for P6. He's going to get this DRS, and he's going to move to the left-hand side of the main straight here, because he knows he doesn't need the inside line going to the chicane. He's got a nice position held into P6 ahead of Nizio, gets onto the brakes and gets it done nice and easily before the chicane even appeared. So a nice move up to P6, and this is a nice one for the Ground Effect team. 3rd position and 6th position at the moment for their 2 highest drivers, but will Lianos be able to hold on to that is a question. With Prosciutto still, I think he's taking it a bit easy in P4. I don't think he's pushed as hard as he could, but is he going to be able to recover, move forward, and maybe go for that 3rd position before the end of this race, as we're coming up to just 3 laps to go?
I don't think any of those top 4 positions are really going to change, unfortunately. They look too far spaced apart. Maybe Ivanov, just with those older tyres, is falling back a little bit, but let's see. I don't think Leonis is going to be able to get there. Thomas Vac might well fall outside the top 5, though. Kostas Van Vukas has closed in a bit here. Vac is on those older tyres, of course. Casper Nizio as well is going to have to try and hang on from Mercedes, Mancini and Lalu as well, but let's not forget there's only 3 laps to go, so there's limited time for everybody to fall back and everybody to gain positions as well if you're coming from behind at this stage. But once again, it has been Lalu who's going to gain on some of his rivals and then lose out on others. His consistency, once again, finishing inside the top 10 is going to save him a bit. I know his championship lead is going to be reduced to roughly 25 points, I think, but even so, with 30 points for a victory and only 3 rounds to go, that is still a decent place to be.
Especially getting involved in other drivers' issues early in the race. Lalu to recover into the top 10 positions was definitely the best I think he could have hoped for following that incident. So his consistency, as you say, is really sticking with Lalu, and he's going to need that going into the final 3 rounds of this season. And his focus is now going to be just getting the results. It doesn't matter if it's a race win. Yes, he is still yet to get a race win in FSR, but he doesn't need it. He could be a champion without a race win, which would be fantastic. But he can't just go for the positions and hope for the best. He has still got to push his hardest, and I think he has been pushing his hardest here. It's just not turned out the way that he'd hoped. So 10th position at the moment behind his teammate Mancini. Could get into 9th. He's certainly not easing up on his teammate here. He's not letting him get away.
No. Wants to make absolutely sure, drives this one to the line. Mercedes not too far in front. Is he going to be able to get to Nizio? Oh, it's going to be close, but I think he's going to run out of time to catch him. Here comes Lalu, though. Mancini's only really got push to pass to defend with here, and for whatever reason, Yuka-Pekka Lalu decides to stay behind for the moment. I wonder if he's waiting for the final lap so that Mancini basically doesn't have any time to respond.
I think that's exactly what's happening there. He's just waiting for next lap so he can make the move and not have any rebuttance to it. But Van Vukas moves past Wack now. So Wack down to P6. The strategy, softs for mediums, the one stop not working out as much as Wack would hope, but 6 isn't still bad. If he's able to hold on to it ahead of Nizio with only 1.5 laps to go, it's very possible. Lalu, though, still on the rear end of Mancini here. He's going to get the DRS, he's going to get the slipstream, but is he going to go for the move? A DRS is open. Is he going to move to the left-hand side? No, he's not. He's staying behind, so it looks like he is waiting for next lap. Williams already on the last lap of this race. Lalu P10 going to look for that move past Mancini into turn 1.
Yeah, he's going to try and get himself that one final championship point to extend that lead further, or limit the damage further, I should say, because Cosmo Prosciutto is still gaining on him today. From 3rd place in the standings at the start of the day, Prosciutto will move up to 2nd, ahead of Ivanov, who will probably be 3rd after this one, and Mancini staying in 4th, with Van der Neat maybe even dropping outside of that top 4. Meanwhile, Lalu does indeed make that move inside line into the first chicane, and it's 9th position now, ahead of his teammate and championship rival Mirko Mancini. How much push to pass has he got remaining, though? Because Mercedes and Nizio are not too far up in front of him. Meanwhile, there's nobody in front of this man. Matthew Williams has had another dominant performance here in the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship. He's over 20 seconds in front of Viktor Ivanov, who himself has had a really good race today. But it's through the final corner for another Royal Blue Racing victory. Matthew Williams, 3 out of 3 in the Pro Championship 2022. He wins at the Temple of Speed. It's not even close. He wins by over 20 seconds in the end. What a race it was from him. Ivanov with a great strategy up to 2nd place. We questioned his medium tyre start, but he's made it work to absolute perfection. Soft tyres towards the end. With Leonis and Prosciutto coming across the line in 3rd and 4th. Van Vukas will be 5th, just ahead of the likes of Thomas Vac, Casper Nizio, Mercedes and Lalu, as Mercedes gets through on Nizio at the very end here. Does Nizio get pipped at the line by Lalu? It's going to be very close over the line, but he can't quite do it. Nizio holds on to the place. Mancini will round out the top 10. A great race down in the midfield, but there was absolutely no competition for that race win.
Indeed, as Barley looks to make the move on Andreasen up towards the line. Can Barley do it for P14? Yes, he does. On the line, he pips Andreasen to the 14th position. What a way to end. And the Pro Series being that final step in the FSR calendar before you reach the World Championship. Williams has really shown that he is there to fight for it, because he has done an absolutely fantastic job. 3 races so far this year and 3 victories to come out of it. What a showing he has done.
Yeah, absolutely. There he is. Oh, there is. Yeah, there he is. Matthew Williams, just waiting. I wonder if he's waiting so he can do a few donuts. Let's hope. He's just out of fuel. Okay, no donuts for us because there's no fuel either. So there we are. Matthew Williams comes to a grinding halt, but thankfully it's half a lap after the finish line rather than before. Or is he waiting for? No. Well, people are still. There's no engine there. Okay, so there we are. I was remaining hopeful. I was remaining optimistic there for a moment, but there was no reason to. There certainly is reason to be optimistic though for Matthew Williams. He takes another victory in the FSR Pro Championship. Victor Ivanov is second, and Evgenij Leonis, Cosmo Pasuto, and Kostas Van Bukas round out your top 5. Thomas Vack just outside of it with that alternate strategy. Mercedes got that 7th place with a last lap pass on Nizio, Lalu, and Mancini round out the top 10. In 11th place, Harry Smith, also on an alternate strategy. Stoyan Barbakov, didn't see much of him today, but he finished 12th. Danny Van Der Neek dropped to 13th late on. Fabian Barley and Rasmus Andreasen battled to the line for 14th and 15th. Kevin Morville, Matthew Towson, Patrick Hanko and Chris Gitsov were the final drivers to get to the line. George Pantelis unfortunately retired, as did Cam Roger. Of course he did at the end of that race earlier on. That is it then from us here at Monza. Richard, what a great race that was, especially in the midfield. As I mentioned, Matthew Williams, got away quite early on and ran away with that, but it was a great race behind.
Indeed it was, and I think it's going to be fantastic showing for what the World Championship drivers are going to do in a little bit as well, because the strategies, there were a mix of the strategies, and I still don't know which one is the more beneficial one, because Ivanov did a fantastic job on his one stop, but Williams was just stronger on the 2-stop, even I think was stronger before those pit stops. So I think the strategy is still all to play for these drivers. But 17th of July, Daytona or Azure, as I correct myself now. I think it's going to be, well, two very, very different circuits, and I can't wait to see which one's chosen.
Absolutely. We don't have long to find out. 3 weeks until the next race in the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship, as we'll be there for Academy and the World Championship here as well. So make sure you join us for that. Make sure you stay with us here on Formula SimRacing, because the World Championship race is coming up next here at Monza. We look forward to seeing you then, but for now, from me, Ewan O'Leary, Richard King alongside me, and Felix van Delft behind the cameras, it's goodbye for now.